Well, that was certainly something, Regiment exclaimed, staring out at the All-Force. Yeah, ditto that, Jax replied. So, is he, dead? Well, dead, I suppose, is one state of being, which you might attest to Delius's current position. However, it is not exactly accurate. A substantial amount of force was necessary to end the confrontation. I was unfortunately forced to hit Jax with a sufficient enough force that Delius was knocked out of, existence. Come again? Regiment replied, raising his eyebrow a bit. What do you mean, knocked out of existence? Well, it is quite simple. Upon impact, the force between our two attacks was sufficient to decimate reality within a controlled segment of space. This will be simple to correct. Oh, great. So he broke the universe. No, technically, we broke the universe, but only a small segment of it. Technically, if the force were normal, and normal rules of reality and physics were applied to it, the force would have been detrimental enough to destroy at least a quarter of the segment of universe we are now in, akin to 1/100th the total size of the universe, would have been completely destroyed. But my power is great, so I was easily able to keep the destruction down, limiting the force and the area to which it could spread. Thus, only an area about the size of a small galaxy was destroyed in the conflict. However, by keeping the force from spreading, it was concentrated highly, and thus destroyed reality within the defined space. There exists no more reality here, but as I said, this is easily corrected, the All-Force said as it swiped its hand across the skyline, and everything seemed to return. The stars in the sky, the world beneath them, the star hanging over the world. There, it is done. Now, Delius, as I said, he is not quite dead. He is, adrift in the energy space outside of your universe, thrown there by the explosion. Technically not dead, but not really alive either. He exists in a state of pure energy, neither his physical form, nor his soul or consciousness able to coalesce itself. Frankly, fixing the hole in the universe was easy. Bringing Delius back will be more difficult, but still well within my range of power, the All-Force said as it raised its hand towards the space beside Jax and Regiment, as a bright flash of golden light seemed to form, and from it, Delius dropped out of a space several feet above the ground, dropping to the ground with a slight thud, as he lay there for a moment, blinking and rubbing his face. What in the world? What was that? Where was I? I have already explained it once, and do not feel it necessary to do so again. Suffice to say, you are back, Delius. Unfortunately, you lost the conflict. I lost? Delius said as he quickly sat up, looking at the All-Force. But what does that mean? Did I fail? He said, sounding more and more worried. You may calm yourself, Delius. All of the criteria have been met. Out of the thousands of iterations, you have successfully reached the end point and become the one successful option. I will return the world beast to you and send you back to the mortal realms. Oh, thank God. Or I guess thank you, Delius said as he allowed his body to clatter back to the ground. Oh, that was stressful. I've never been blown up before. I did not enjoy it. Oh, you've been blown up once. You poor thing, Jack said, looking over at him with a grimace. Come back to me at complete and utter destruction number 400, and then you can talk. You only died. Even I've done it. Get over it, Regimen replied, looking over at Delius. At least you were able to use your full power. My display would have been much more impressive had I not been denied access to my abilities. Whether you believe your display was impressive or not, it was what was necessary. Wait a second, Delius said as he began to get back to his feet. There is something that's bothering me. And what would that be, Delius? The All-Force replied, cocking his head ever so gently. Well, it's just that I only used 6 of the 7 energies. Where's number 7? I mean, I don't really see it anywhere within the spectrum. Isn't it supposed to be woven into everything too? I mean, what's the power of the 7th energy? You need not concern yourself with the 7th energy, Delius. It is highly unlikely that you would ever be able to wield it, even in the smallest measure. It is simply far too unstable. Yes, it does exist within the spectrum. However, it is by its nature next to impossible to harness in any meaningful way, at least while maintaining your existence. What? Delius replied, scratching his head. Why would something like that even exist? The same reason that everything exists, Delius. Because it is necessary. And perfect, just as it is. Yeah, trust me, you're better off, Jax replied. Guy, I've met the 7 divine energies. Trust me, you do not want any part of number 7. I mean, a few of them are tolerable, maybe even likable. Number 7, don't fuck with number 7. If you ever meet number 7, do yourself a favor. Just leave. That is, if you can. Trust me, guy, you want no part of it. Wow, you seem really certain about that, Jax. I am, buddy. Believe me. The 7th energy? The 7th energy is madness. What? Delius replied, looking over to Jax, even more confused than he was before. How can madness be one of the divine energies? I mean, what's even the purpose of it? Buddy, trust me, it's a head flip. My daughter, the 7th divine energy, is not simply madness. She is disorder, unbalance, lack of logic and reason, chaos, pure and refined in every way, shape, and form. And she is absolutely necessary for all things in this universe, no different than any of my other children. But why in the world is madness necessary? Tell me, Delius, do you enjoy your sanity? Well, yes, of course. For there to be sanity, then logically, there must also be insanity. If there is such a thing as balance, then what is balance? If there is no such thing as imbalance, what is symmetry without unsymmetry? For something to lack symmetry, what is order if there is no such thing as chaos? What is joy if there is no such thing as despair? My daughter, the 7th energy, is vital and integral to all things in this universe, as are all of the other energies. She is simply less tolerable to others than the rest. Quite frankly, it saddens my heart. If I had one, it would weep. In all of the known universes, she has not a single champion. They all die long before reaching an awakened status. She often finds herself lonesome, and from time to time visits the other champions in order to help fill the void. She may be somewhat unsettling, but if you see her, do your best to be yourself, Delius. I'm certain that everything will work out. As for you, Reginald, if you ever meet her, do everything possible not to be yourself. It would be in your best interest. You may see what you believe an opportunity to take advantage. I assure you, this would be a bad idea. Many other variants have tried, and it never ends well. My advice to you, well, I surmise that this is the conclusion of events.
Wait a second,
Delius replied as the All-Force was beginning to raise its hand.
You said that all of this was for a purpose, that we needed to be prepared, that it was a checking point along our destiny in order to ensure we were ready to face down this infection to our universe.
Well, what is it? Why is it so dangerous that you need to go to these lengths? Well, that's quite simple. Jax already knows of this infection. In fact, it is the reason that he came to you. Ask him, and he will tell you all you need to know. Okay, thanks, I guess. I'll be sure to get to work on figuring out these powers. But I definitely do think the boost will be helpful. I'm sure you will make good use of your abilities. Farewell, Delius, the All-Force exclaimed as it raised its hand, and in a flash of rainbow light, Delius, Jax, and Reginald once again found themselves floating in space, specifically in front of the 6 sci-fi that they were speaking with before. And in a burst of rainbow light, far away from them in the distance, between the shattered pieces of world, a massive creature seemed to apparate, far different from the world beast that Delius had grown up on. This one seemed, well, almost insect-like in its appearance, though it was still absolutely massive, as it curled up in the distance, and the sci-fi saw it, the node of white light that had appeared between the broken fragments of world, dissipating down to nothing as it re-emerged. You have done it. Have done it. Have done it, the sci-fi said, their whispered voices into their minds almost sounding joyful. Yeah, we got your world beast back. So, I take it that means we have a deal. We can bring our world beast here for its birthing. Yes, yes, yes you can, the voices whispered into their minds. Forever grateful we are. Forever grateful. Grateful. After that, everything seemed to settle down. The signal was given to allow others to pass into the sector without being harried by the males of the sci-fi people. The sci-fi themselves agreed to peaceful coexistence and interaction with Delius's people, as well as the Solari, after which everything went exactly to schedule. Though Jax complained about the amount of work he had to put into it, he eventually did honor his word, transporting the entire world to that empty space, where they got to watch the birthing of another world beast, which was in itself a rather spectacular sight. Delius was not expecting that the birthing process actually required Hagara to actually open its being. Its underbelly and rib cage sort of spread open as a pool of light seemed to allow the infant to pass out of its body. Quickly afterwards, Hagara closed its massive rib cage, sealing itself back up. Just as Jax had promised, there were
plenty of things there for the kiddo to eat after it got its radiation fill from the planet that the Sci-Re did have their eggs on, but happily moved to their new world beast, or their newly returned world beast. At first, the Solari were a bit disappointed, almost enraged, when they showed up to Delius's planetary system, only to find a world beast wasn't there. But with Jax's aid, they were quickly informed of the world beast's new location, and that a new arrangement had been made. But the agreements that Solari would be welcome to cohabitate Hagara's offspring would be kept nonetheless, and they were thankful for the Solari's willingness to help. After all was said and done, Hagara's offspring was named Remogar, which is Delius's people's word for new hope. And quickly after its birth and feeding, they found that both Hagara and the child seemed fairly tuckered out, immediately cradling back up into planetary spheres, with Hagara's offspring rotating around Hagara like a moon, a very large one. And after everything was said and done, an agreement was made to invite the Sci-Re to Delius's home as well, adding their world beast and their world to the array that lived within their system. With a slight bit of negotiation between the Sci-Re, the Solari, and Delius's people, an arrangement was met with Jax for sustained use of his gates for future use in the feeding of their world beasts whenever one of them was getting ready to wake up for a little nosh. Jax could simply transport them and some uninhabited planets and star systems into a nice cozy space where they could nosh down before bedding back to sleep, at which point Jax could simply transport them back, their location no longer endlessly shuffling. Luckily enough, Jax, with the help of gate technology, was able to transport Delius back with more than enough time to inform his people that a new solution had been found to their problem, and war were averted. They decided it was best to never actually let anyone know of their plans for the time being. For now, they would simply keep it a secret. Asa was of course upset with Delius for going on such a wild adventure without her, and Jirara was simply happy that everything worked out. And eventually, Jax was readying himself to journey onward into space, looking for new allies, as him and Delius were meeting for one last discussion to finish things up. As the meeting drew to its close, and Jax began to invite Delius to leave, and Delius stopped him. "So, Jax, I've been thinking about it." "Thinking about what?" Jax replied. "You know, the All-Force was pretty concerned with this whole viral outbreak thing, and wanting us to be prepared for it. And if the guy who created the universe is worried about it, I think it's a pretty safe bet I should be worried about it as well. So, I figure the best way to deal with the situation is not to sit on the sidelines and wait for a phone call. I want to know if there's any way I can help now. And more specifically, what exactly is this virus that's threatening the entirety of the universe?" And Jax smiled for a moment. "So, Delius, tell me, have you ever heard of the Endure?"